Hi, and welcome to Business Unusual. I'm Liz Whitehead, co-mastermind of Diversity Masterminds, and I'm here as always with Heather Cox.
Hi, the other co-mastermind of Diversity Masterminds.
And we're here with Christine Vartanian, who has her own podcast, which we're going to hear about. And we're going to talk about business unusual, what happens when business unusual becomes business as usual.
Yes.
So before we do that, though, Christine, tell us a little bit about you, about Jade for All Seasons and Waist Up Wardrobe.
Yeah, so Waist Up Wardrobe is a subdivision of my business. My overarching business that I founded 8 years ago is called Jade for All Seasons. And what we do through Jade for All Seasons is help clients have effortless style every single day, whether they're entrepreneurs that have to take the stage or in their everyday work lives, or even like in their everyday lifestyles. So it's a full service personal styling and image consulting company. And the newest subdivision to Jade for All Seasons is what I call Waist Up Wardrobe. And it is a podcast, and it's much more than that too.
What I really like, I happen to know the background of how you started your business, but I think it's a great story because, sometimes you hear that, especially women as they start having children and your sizes change 14 times because you're pregnant, then you're not, then you're nursing, then you're not, right? People get really bogged down and they kind of forget about themselves. So I love the story of how you started your company.
Yeah. Let me give you a little bit of that insight, if I may. Can I do that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So the reason I was prompted to start with the Jade for All Seasons was because I believe women do everything. They do it all day long. They wear so many hats. They work in and out of the house. They raise children and mold them for the future. They serve their communities and their businesses. I mean, they really do a lot. And what I found from just being a stay-at-home mom myself 10 years before I started Jade for All Seasons is that I saw so many moms sort of neglect their self-care. And I thought, no, ladies, we're not, you can do this. You can take care of yourself while you take care of others. But really what they needed was resources. So my mission is to self-care, offer resources for self-care for women and make them feel beautiful and dress them up so that I uplift their emotional vibration so that they can have the strength to serve everybody else that they serve.
Right. No, it's so important because it's like, like an empty vessel can't fill anything else, whatever that expression is, true. But, not everybody is gifted with a natural sense of style, right? So it's really hard for women sometimes to figure out what to put on their ever changing bodies. And I think it's frustrating. So they sometimes end up in leggings, which are not pants. People service announcement, leggings are not pants. It's a whole different conversation. So is that kind of what helped prompted you? And do you work with the executive who needs to travel across the country and, as you said, speak on stages or be on offices, and as well as the mom who just wants to look hip and cool while she's doing her mom stuff?
Absolutely. I work with every woman that has a desire to uplift and uplevel her outside style. I truly believe that up-leveling your outside style by the way you dress yourself can increase your emotional vibration and elevate it. And it, when you put on a great outfit and you want to step out and you want to meet everybody and you want to run into everybody, but if you're in sweatpants and you run to the store, you're like hiding. So there is some merit to that idea that getting dressed up gives you confidence and makes you want to greet the world and go out and get that next big client. And I meet everybody where they're at in their style journey. So everybody's different. Some people don't have the time to shop, even though they might have a sense of style, they just don't have the time. And a lot of my executive clients are in that category where they just don't want to spend the time curating clothes for their wardrobe. And then I have clients that are on stage all the time and they have to dress a certain way that is professional, but also not distracting. So they need a lot of guidance in that. And then I have my stay-at-home moms that are, they're involved in charities, they take care of children. So their lifestyle is fast and they need to have simplicity and ease, but also look great and put together. So my tagline for Jade for All Seasons is let's play dress up, because most of my clients come to me and they say, this is too hard. And I tell them, no, this is easy, effortless, and fun. And it's like playing dress up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. And so I'm looking at your background right now, and I think that's a good lead in to how you pivoted during COVID, right? Because you'd see clients, you'd shop for them, and they try stuff on with you. So how has that changed since we can't see each other in person?
Yeah. My clients used to dress from head to toe, and that's what I used to do for them. I'll dress you from head to toe. And then when COVID hit, I realized people were like, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to conferences. I'm not dressing from head to toe anymore. I said, yeah, but you're dressing from head to waist. And that's how Waist Up Wardrobe was born. It was during that time where, we were all kind of shaken up. Like it was 2 months into the lockdown. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to serve my clients by just being there for them. All those people that were on subscription programs, I was still connecting with them virtually and getting them styled for whatever they needed to do virtually. But then I thought there's more that can be done here to serve them. And with Waist Up Wardrobe, what it ended up being a podcast to educate my audience. And it's about everything that goes into this Zoom box. It's not so that you have the successful, very professional office. We kicked off the podcast series with what I call zoopers, which is bloopers on Zoom and how to avoid them. And it just became, we are recording episode 32 this week. So 32 weeks of this. Yeah. And it's not just about the clothes. Of course, we had a whole episode on how to dress for the camera, but we also had an episode on how to light your space, how to decorate and style your set, how to exercise, like have yoga moves that you can do at the desk, Zoom fatigue, Zoom gloom. I mean, everything above the waist, even things that affect your mental wellness.
That's amazing. So what's one Zooper? Share a Zooper with us.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the craziness out there with people having their husbands walk behind them with like no clothes on. Or my favorite, there was one, and in Mexico, it was a councilwoman, really high level councilwoman who showed up on Zoom with nothing on top. Like I'm saying nothing. And it's, you can Google it. I have no idea. And then what am I?
You're like the waist, like just not putting pants on. Maybe you forgot above the waist.
Yeah. One of my favorites was this young girl who was in lecture. It looked like she was in a lecture setting, and she decided to go to the bathroom, but took her camera with her, and I guess forgot to turn off the camera and went to the bathroom, and like everybody, she's on blast so everybody could see. So it was really, it was mortifying. Like you don't want to be a zooper, but the most common ones are things like showing up on camera with your unmade bed in the background, or, showing up with a really messy desk. And I mean, that is stuff you don't want to show up with when you're trying to be professional. So there's some things in your background. Now, I mean, those incidents were mistakes, and obviously a lot of them were not intended, but you can avoid them. I do have tools on that episode where you can avoid as best as you can those things. But the most common ones that people almost, I think when we went in virtually, people were just not used to being on camera all the time. They were like bringing people into their homes, into their bedrooms, and nobody wants to see your unmade bed. Nobody wants to do that. And if you're interviewing for on the camera, which is another episode we did on how to interview for a job on camera, you want to show up in your best light. You want to show up professionally. You don't want to have a messy desk. That gives an impression. So I always say that a negative set can actually affect you and your image negatively. And so you have to eliminate all the negative. And we had a whole episode dedicated to that.
That's so good though.
Yeah. And I like how you're talking about that. It's not just the way you look, like, it's that it conveys a whole image, and it does convey something about your mindset, which I think is good when we're out walking around, but also when we're sitting at our desks.
Yeah. I always say the background that you have in your virtual office is like this opportunity to have a billboard for your brand.
Oh no, I have nothing. I need to put a brand up back there.
We need to get your background styled, young lady.
I know, right? Well, I was thinking I wanted it clean and neutral because, we have different branding for different companies. And so I was like, oh, perfect. plain white is good. But now you're making me think I need something back there.
Well, I think they're just a touch of branding. Now, there's all sorts of types of billboards that I've created with my clients, but some people are more layered, like a maximalist, and there are minimalists. So it really depends on your style and your company brand. So it's something that, you know, is very customized.
Yeah.
I'm missing a plant. Okay, like a plant back there or something.
Yeah. Yeah, a plant would be good.
Yeah. So have you seen people too try and do this for their employees? Because like you said, a lot of people have different, like I might live in a house, someone else might live in a condo or is living with their parents, and there's different things that they can do. So have you talked to teams about this also?
We have an episode coming up about how to have your team align themselves with the brand of the company. That is an episode that's coming up. We did a whole episode on how to interview on camera, which was sort of like a corporate type of episode. And this one is coming up. So I'm excited. It's coming down the line probably in a couple of weeks. So we will be doing that because like you said, you know, you might have an employee that doesn't necessarily care as much, or you know, doesn't realize it as much as the founder and the owner knows to show up, but the owner might not know how they're showing up with their bed unmade in the background to their client base or the colleagues even. So yes, there are I do speaking engagements to corporations too, where we can get like a whole conversation around that with the team. Again, a very fun conversation, informative and eye-opening for employees. So it's both fun with a twist of educating.
Yeah.
Right. That's so important though.
You make a really good point that people don't know. I was talking to someone else that like a very like this high-powered person was leading a meeting, and I was just looking at the top of her head, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I was like, and I was telling someone else, probably my husband, I was like, it's because who else do I talk to? What was I telling the kids? My husband.
He hadn't told me, so it must have been him, right?
You told Heather. But I was like, I mean, it's been a year of this. Like, I'm surprised. And someone else was like, she's probably been working for 30 years, not like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just the idea that it's been a year, it doesn't mean that everybody has absorbed all of these lessons or even thought it was going to last this long. Like people are just now like, we're doing this.
We're doing this. Yeah.
And I believe that this kind of work is going to be long lasting. I believe that the virtual working office is going to last for almost forever, because now companies have realized that they can actually lower their overhead by having people work from home. And it's so practical. But I mean, we will go back to normal in some ways, but this has opened up the virtual world of being on camera and working on camera has opened up the world in so many different ways for companies and business owners.
Yeah.
Right. No, I do think it's important. I mean, we've always been certified my company, even Diversity Masterminds was created as a virtual opportunity because as a business owner, I remember thinking like, I can't get to all these events that are outside my office if I have to leave, especially if I have to leave the town, little kids at home. So that's why Diversity Masterminds was created virtually. It just happened that the timing worked out that it was right before everything went virtually.
Yeah.
But so how is your business? I know before it was 100% working in or 90% working in person with people. What is it? What's been like the percentage of shift? And how much do you think, I know you said you think it's going to stay. So do you think you'll kind of make like hybrid programs moving forward?
So I actually have always worked virtually. That's given me the opportunity to have clients all over the country, really. So before COVID, I was working probably 50-50. I had a 50% virtual practice, business, and a 50%, in person. And there are things I have not been able to, like I used to do master classes in person, with great little get-togethers. And
remember there's champagne involved. There's champagne involved.
Yes. But now with the virtual world becoming more, people are more accepting of it and they realize, oh, it can be done. My business has been probably 90% virtual.
Oh, wow.
But I did see a client yesterday in person who was comfortable. She had gotten the vaccine and I went to her closet. So yeah.
Nice. That's so exciting.
But it opens up the possibilities, right? You can do it virtually, and when everything goes back to normal, you can certainly do it in person. But the wonderful thing about being a virtual business is that I get to serve people in New York, in Sacramento, in Colorado, in Kansas. I have clients all over the country, and that has really made my business have a long arm to reach a lot of different people that want to work with me.
Yeah.
So
we were talking a little bit beforehand. So one of our things is diversity, right? And supplier diversity, buying goods and services from diverse business owners. But you were mentioning how you did a whole episode on styling for an African-American woman, and you had and the different challenges with that. Tell us a little bit about that episode too.
Yeah. So that was an episode that was actually one of my most watched episodes on YouTube. And it was prompted by a friend of mine who's a business owner who said, could you do an episode on hairstyling for women of color beyond on the virtual camera, because I struggle with that? And I said, yes. I said, would you come on the show and ask those essential questions that women of color struggle with? And she said, absolutely. So I have a friend of mine who is a hairstylist, who is African American. She came on as the expert, and Jan came on as the client essential question asker, if you will. And it brought a whole different experience to the show, because obviously I wanted somebody who was struggling with the questions for real. And then I wanted somebody that could answer those questions adequately. And it was sort of a panel discussion, and it was an amazing conversation. And it was just, there's so many things that came together in that one. And women of color are not just African-American women. There's, a lot of different Middle Easterns are considered women of color. So we defined what that was. We then solved the problems, and we had a really good connection, all of us. It was really a wonderful conversation all around.
Yeah.
That's great though. I'm so happy. I mean, that's so interesting. It was the highest watched YouTube one. That's amazing. That's fantastic. I mean, it's a perfectly asked question. I mean, we are in Black History Month, so that worked out.
Yes, I know.
Wow, you should replay it right now. You should replay it.
Well, this week, actually, we are doing makeup for women of color with a makeup artist and a friend of mine who's going to come on and ask essential questions. So, we did a little continued sequel to that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, but Ulta just announced that they are committing to, I can't remember the exact amount, to use Black-owned brands in the store. Now, my question was, how are you going to confirm they really are? I obviously am pushing the certification component of it to prove they really are owned, operated, and controlled by a woman of color or by a person of color. But I think it just demonstrates, I know when, what is her name that did the makeup line? I'm blanking on her name. Rihanna. It was like people were so excited about it, right? Yeah. So I'm like, no, I think it's fantastic, and I'm excited that Ulta and Sephora supposedly said they were going to do it, but I'd like to see them at some supplier diversity conferences as well. Both those companies. How committed y'all really are out there.
Yeah. Well, and Christine, as you were saying, it seems like an issue that estheticians should really understand, like that. Some of them sometimes you don't even have a makeup set that can be used with someone that doesn't have fair skin or whatever. And it's like, there's all different shades. Like Heather and I, like the three of us, we would not have
all different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And and I really think makeup artists, if they don't have that in their tool set, then they're kind of
limiting themselves.
They're not just limiting themselves, but you're not like a legit makeup artist if you don't have that. I mean, because how do you know who's going to be your next client? You really need to. It's so disappointing for a client that shows up on a photo shoot, right, and has a darker tone, and the makeup artist doesn't have it in their repertoire, and then they don't look like themselves if they had to use an alternative. So it's all about really being able to serve the woman as a whole and customize your work.
Right. So would you say most of your clients are women, or do you also have male clients?
So I have styled men, and but that's a very small percentage of my work. Men are easy, because there's so much they're just not as critical of themselves. Women tend to be more critical of themselves. So a lot of the work I do is not just about the clothes. In fact, all of the work I do, I think clothes are just sort of the end product. It's how the clothes make you feel inside. And as women, we are always, we are more critical of ourselves. Our confidence tends to be lower for some reason. I mean, I could be styling a gentleman who is overweight, bald, and he look in the mirror and goes, I look great today. And then I could style a woman who is flawless and she'd say, I got to lose a little bit here. So it's interesting. Our perspectives are different. And, but I love men too. I just don't, my practice, I'm really gearing it more towards the woman because of my mission and my underlying why and the why to my why.
I think it's so important. I mean, we're all parents. I know most of yours are grown now, Christine, but I think I told Liz this story before or on a previous one, but my 6-year-old, we were getting ready for my older daughter's a party for my older daughter. And this is just in October. And my 6-year-old wanted some earrings. So she went to, I have like a tool, like a pegboard full of earrings and jewelry, right? So she goes and she picks them out, she puts them on, and she looks in the mirror and she's like, perfect. And she walks out the door. And I was like, why don't we all feel that way when we look in the mirror? Like, why don't all of us say like, perfect every time we look, regardless if it's perfect somebody else's standards? Like, I thought that was, and I'm like, how do I not mess that up for her? Like, how do I continue that for her?
Yeah. I mean, that's such a gift actually to have that confidence in yourself and to be that, confident is just, that is the one thing. It's interesting that I work on with clients the most. It's all psychology. It's about just giving them that courage to do something differently in their wardrobe or do something at all.
Yeah. A little color splash.
Yeah. If you deserve it. You don't have, just because you don't feel like you're the weight you should be, or you look the way you should, quote unquote.
I had a client once that came to me, she was in her 60s, and she said, okay, listen, I am doing this because I trust you. But I'm going to tell you that when I put nice clothes on, I don't feel like I feel like the clothes are too nice for me. And there was a lot of work to be done there. Yes. She had just lost a husband. She was, a mom, she's a nurse, she's a caretaker, a nurturer for sure. But that mental piece took a lot of work. But it was a lot of support. She needed the support and to tell her that she was worth it, and that just to kind of build her up because of years of just giving and sacrificing.
So this has been fun, a little different than any other conversations we've had in a while.
I promised you, this is like playing. We play dress up. Yes.
And it's still so deep. Like, it's not just clothes.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a wonderful thing. I was at a conference recently and somebody was speaking and it was talking about, what do you want to do for your client? You want to make them happy. You want to give them that joy. And I thought, yes, that is exactly my mission. It's about making people happy, about my space being the happiest place on earth for women.
Cool.
Yeah.
We touched on this a little bit before, as we ask everybody this. So once coronavirus goes away and we do get back to normal, whatever that looks like, what's one thing that you'd like to see stay from this time?
I really enjoyed seeing people think a little bit more outside of the box and be a little bit more flexible and open-minded. I was like that too. I was, certain times I would say, I can't do this. And I've had to really work on my mindset to really stretch myself and really be able to get to the next level in my business. So it is hard work to think differently or do things differently, but I have, I have stylists that I've worked with that said, this can't be done. My clients don't like to shop this way virtually, but now they're shifting their mindset and they're finding that they've been able to add another level to their business. They've been able to convince their clients that this can be easier. And so I just love that people have been pushed, really been forced to think a little bit more flexibly. And that has been really the silver lining for so many people. Things that you never thought could be done have been done. And that is
Right.
exciting.
I like that one. That's
Yeah.
good.
So how do women find you to get to the happiest place on earth for women? How do they find you?
So my website is jadeforallseasons.com, or you can also find me at waistupwardrobe.com. And, they can reach out to me. They can email me at Christine@jadeforallseasons.com. And I just would love to, my mission is to really be able to connect with as many women as I possibly can and see if I can serve them in any way as a humble servant.
That's awesome.
Well,
Thank
Christine,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you. It was such an honor and a pleasure to be talking to you guys this morning, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me on the show.
Me too. And we will see you next time on Business Unusual.